to abort my little sister. And my mother, who actually believes that women should have a choice, she felt that she could not have an abortion just because of how she felt as a woman. And actually, it caused a little tiff in my parents' relationship as they were married. They still are, let me put that out as well. And my mother just refused to get that abortion. She eventually ended up having my sister May 31st. She was supposed to be born September 27th. And my sister is here today. She is a dispatcher for 911 for the city of East Cleveland. Liberty, please raise your hand so they can see you. And my mother, she could not make it tonight, but my mother is, she is alive and well. So this means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family, and this initiative is super, super important to us. So I want to thank you all for attending. I also want to point out that we are on track for our 700,000 raw signature goal for So we could not do that at all without all of you in this room. Your work is important to us. Your work is instrumental, and we need you in order to get this passed. I also want to let you all know that we do have a raffle tonight. We have a t-shirt raffle. There are no requirements. Please just come get a t-shirt. We will pick 3 winners at the end, so make sure you visit us at the front table. We do have the pleasure of having 2 physicians from OPRR here with us tonight, as well as Mayor KAHLIL. They're going to speak a little bit about the initiative, their experience, and why they are here today. So first, I'm going to bring up Dr. Jane Porterville.
Who is clearly a bicycle behavior. Okay, I don't usually, but you notice I wore green.
Green for abortion rights.
So, I don't know if I took a left turn or a right turn, but I started out with pediatric genetics and ended up in OB/GYN. So, and I'm in the maternal fetal medicine department, and I'm not supposed to tell where I am because they don't want me to tell where I am. But, So, my area of expertise is actually fetal diagnosis and therapy. So I'm director of ultrasound, and what I do on a daily basis is actually I take care of babies with malformations. So in any given day, or any given week, I might see 10 to 11 babies with birth defects. Some of those are very mild, some of those are very severe. Many of them are actually genetic, which is why I am a geneticist, okay? So the thing about that is I think most people, that's not even on their radar screen. They're trying to have a baby. It's not on their radar screen, and they don't realize 2 to 4% of all pregnancies have a baby with a birth defect. Okay? The other thing people don't realize is that when we're sending off gene panels to screen for carriers of genetic disorders, 80% of people will be a carrier of a genetic disorder. And 4% of couples will be carriers of the same genetic disorder, meaning there's a 25% risk of having an affected baby. So, if you have money, you can go have in vitro fertilization, you can pick out embryos that aren't affected. If you don't have money, you don't have any options. Medicaid does not cover any infertility treatments, and they don't cover people with genetic disorders, okay, to have an unaffected baby. Their only choices are to get pregnant and have a termination of pregnancy for a baby with a terrible disease. So not only is that just wrong, okay, that we don't support those parents, but it's also heartbreaking. All these people want is a baby. So what I do on a daily basis is I counsel people on all of their options. And a lot of times the option is you can carry the pregnancy, we will get palliative care and your baby while your baby dies. Or you can decide to have a pregnancy termination at that point. Okay? And it's heartbreaking when they pass the 6-week law that I had to send people to another state. It was like adding insult to injury for people who didn't do anything to deserve this. Okay? So I think, you know, the religious right views this as choices for parents, but some parents don't have any good choices. All their choices are not good. Okay? And so for me, it is just protecting. I am doing this. I am out there getting signatures. I'm a place where people can pick up petitions and drop off besides working full time, because I'm doing this for my patients. I am trying to protect my patients' rights. And yes, I do a dual appointment at Rainbow and UH because no man up in the administration is going to tell me what my patients can do with their body or what I can do with my mouth.
Dr. Porterville. We will now bring up Dr. Lauren.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight, this evening. So my name is Dr. Lauren B. Oh, okay. I'm not a natural orator, but I'm a general pediatrician in the area. And unlike Dr. Porterville, this has not been a consistent theme of my career so far. As a general pediatrician, I didn't see being up here talking with you about reproductive freedom as being anywhere part of my 5-year plan, but here I am. And that's because the Monday after the Dobbs decision, so the Dobbs decision is what overturned Roe v. Wade and took away our rights to reproductive health care and the ability of physicians to provide health care to their patients that they know that they need. That Monday morning, I came into my office and I had 2 conversations that really just set me off. The first was the mother of a 13-year-old girl, not sexually active. That mother called and asked if we should put her daughter on birth control, because what if her daughter were raped and her daughter didn't tell her mom, and then weeks have gone by and now it's too late and she can't get an abortion in the state of Ohio. What would she do? And I had never had anybody ask me a question like that before. I felt so sick to my stomach. But I knew that, you know, this is not good. Bad things are going to happen, and we are facing really a crisis here regarding medical care in Ohio. And after I got off the phone with her, I had to call another one of my patients. This was a 16-year-old girl. She's an African-American girl from Cle Heights. She comes from a wonderful community, a very supportive community. She happened to be 8 weeks pregnant. And the previous week, we had lots of conversations where I was trying to make sure that she had all of the information that she needed in order to be able to make the decision that was right for her. She wasn't sure what she wanted to do yet. She was pondering her choices. She had been seen at preterm, which is the abortion clinic in Shaker Heights, and she had an appointment to see OBGYN a week and a half later, which is a pretty reasonable time when people will see OBGYN for their first prenatal visit. And she wanted to talk to the OBGYNs to get more information. And I had to call her that morning and say, you know, unfortunately, you cannot wait to see OBGYN. And if you are seriously considering having an abortion, you're going to have to go back to preterm today. And it might already be too late in 8 weeks. So I sat there after talking with her, and I just thought to myself, you know, I had never told somebody that they should not go talk to the specialist that will be able to answer their questions most effectively, because there isn't enough time. And I also was sitting there talking to her from our Solon office. which is in a community where there's a lot of privilege. And I couldn't help but think about how my patient in Cleveland Heights, while she comes from a wonderful community, it's a community that doesn't have financial means. And if my patient were to have to leave the state of Ohio, that would be a lot more stressful for her family and her community than it would be for my other patients in other neighborhoods. And I could just see the social disparities of healthcare widening, and I felt absolutely sick to my stomach. So I was very frustrated, and I thought, well, what are you supposed to do when you are frustrated with the government? You want something to change. So I decided to write a letter that I was going to send to my legislators. And I posted it in a Facebook group that I'm in. It's a women's physician Facebook group. Marcella Azevedo, who I hadn't previously met, she's now the president of Ohio Petition for Reproductive Rights, saw the letter, and she said, you know what, this is actually pretty nice. Why don't we put this in a Facebook group, and then we can have, invite our friends and say, maybe some of them will help us edit this, make it nicer, and we can submit it to the plain dealer as a letter to the editor. So we did that, thinking maybe we would get 10 or 20 of our friends to join in. A couple of them are here today, and within 4.5 days, over 1,000 doctors in the state of Ohio were asking to join our Facebook group so that they could sign this letter in support of their patients. And it was incredibly powerful. I mean, we were just blown away. We were not prepared for this. We did not expect that, but we knew that we were on to something. There were many physicians in the state of Ohio, men and women, all specialties, that were all concerned about the welfare of their patients. So we took that energy in that Facebook group, and we created Ohio Physicians for Reproductive Rights. And we knew that we needed to find a way to direct that energy for a positive change. So we learned pretty quickly that the best way to do that is through a ballot initiative, as was happening in other states, in most particular Michigan. This was happening, and they were successful there. So we thought, well, this can be successful here. And we ended up meeting a lot of people who all felt very similarly, who were not doctors and knew how this process worked, who could help us with it, and created a coalition called Protect Choice Ohio. And so Protect Choice Ohio is a wonderful coalition. There are so many volunteers here from Protect Choice Ohio. Protect Choice Ohio is a coalition of the people of Ohio. It is a coalition of organizations, volunteers, individuals. We have backing from medical societies. We are a group that is working together to push forward in the most pure sense grassroots democracy, where we, the people, are putting forth an amendment that will then go to vote in November, and the people can choose whether or not they should have the right to reproductive health care, including abortion. So I just wanted to thank everybody here. I think that, you know, for me, I've learned so much through this. I was not particularly politically active before this, but I felt that something needed to change. And social media and the interconnectedness of our society right now has allowed us to move this forward from a Facebook group to a multi-million-dollar statewide campaign with national recognition in a matter of a couple months. And I'm just the one little pebble that kind of started things off, and really it's all of us together that are working for our rights. And this is how big changes are made. So I just want to thank everybody here for being here with us in this fight. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much for those words, Dr. Bean. I now have the honor to introduce the Cleveland Heights Mayor KAHLIL.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. I want to thank the doctors. I want to thank you, Ms. Dow. Thank you. And all of the volunteers who have helped set this up, who have been out getting signatures. I see people getting signatures everywhere. And every time I see it, it's definitely I want to thank the Wine Spot for hosting. So, you know, my feelings on this are pretty certain, pretty set. and I feel pretty confident in my position on this issue. And there are a lot of people out there who are in positions like mine who aren't willing to firmly and clearly express that. And so I want to encourage anybody to pressure those people who should be on board and maybe aren't in it as much as they should be. So that's first of all. I'm absolutely disgusted by what is frankly a 50-year push, really a longer push than that, primarily by men, aided by complicit misogynistic women, to control women's bodies, primarily. That's the primary goal. And it's a disgusting thing that is in line with most of the fascist right-wing things that you see building in America today. And it's disheartening to see it in our country. And every day I see a new headline that speaks to that, but that's not what we're here to talk about, really. That's the opposition. Because the other side of that is this. This movement here, exactly what you were talking about, Dr. Bean, the people getting together to make a change in the government, because that's how this is supposed to work. That the people are sovereign, and of course right now, they're trying desperately to override and overcome the voice of the people in Ohio so that they can maintain control over our rights. And we're not going to let them. It is of vital importance, and it is the foundation of all of our rights, this right to bodily autonomy. Everybody should have the right to choose for themselves whether or not they carry something within them that grows into whatever. Everybody should have that right to choose. It is a very, very simple principle. And some people in this community, in the liberal bastion of Cleveland Heights, some people will say this is not a function of the city. You shouldn't be, speaking of this as the mayor, shut your mouth. And to them I say, absolutely not. Every single time I was sworn in, whether it was on city council, the most recent time as the mayor, I swore to uphold the Constitution. And what that means is I do not respect at all the ballot decision. So I think they got that one wrong. I think we're going to see some Dred Scott style reversal on that. I do not respect the ballot decision, and I do believe that we do not get our rights from a constitution. We are endowed with those rights, inalienable rights. The Constitution is just supposed to reflect that. And the fact that abortion isn't spelled out in the Constitution is meaningless. It matters not at all. But I have to say that I respect so much the push to put these rights into our Ohio Constitution so that we can be a model for the states that are still left trying desperately to restrict our rights, so that we can be a model for the nation as well, showing that this can be done, showing that we can make a change to progress toward a better America, and combat this push to an America of 1950 or 1920 or 1850. So, for all of the disgusting, disheartening things that are coming out of Columbus, I am so pleased to see this movement, because I think this movement has a chance of changing this state forever. And I want to thank everybody that's been involved in this. This is a very powerful thing that you're doing. And I'm just very, very honored to be a very small part of it. So thank you.